ChristyPegramLong. Hello.
Hello.
Long time no see. Welcome to
Yes,
Freedburg
indeed.
Comes Alive, the show about Freedburg, North Carolina, which is an unincorporated community, very southern Forsyth County, very northern Davidson County. I heard from a little bird that you were a member of Freedburg Moravian Church back in the day.
Yes.
But before that, you were a member of Trinity Moravian Church.
Right.
You bailed out of Trinity Moravian Church because what was the reason?
I'm really not sure. I just remember it was early 80s and I was going, I went to school in Davidson County. And I went to school with some friends that went to Freedburg to church. And then my parents, here's part of the reason. You know the Davenports, right? Tom and Dawn Davenport. Well, my dad and Tom, they were old friends. Like they went to high school together, joined the service like with the buddy system, whatever they had going on back in the 60s. And so they started going to Freedburg and invited our family to visit. So I think that's how it got the ball rolling. And then I saw friends there that I went to school with.
My mom is still 2 feet away, neighbors with Dawn Davenport. So you started going. Take a wild guess. What year did you start going to Freedburg Moravian Church?
I'm gonna say 83, maybe 82, 83, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Who were your friends at Freedburg Moravian Church? You just mentioned the Davenports. What are other names that come to mind that were going there then?
The Foltses, my friend Julia Foltz, she's now Julia Hedgecock, her family. Trying to think. The Stewards, Pauline was the mom, Robbie Stewart was my age, goes by Rob now. Had an older brother, David, and maybe even another brother. I can't remember. Who else? Some more Foltzes, Laurie and Alan Foltz. Don't know if you know them. Lots of Foltzes at Freeburg. you know, Eva Foltz Haynes, the cookie lady, was from Freeburg. Caroline Haynes. Caroline Haynes comes to mind. Yes. Yeah, lots of people.
And so what was the funnest or most memorable aspect of going to Freedburg Moravian Church? I'm guessing you were in the youth fellowship there.
Yes. Yes, correct. We,
And some of the names that you just mentioned were in the youth fellowship
oh
with you.
yes, yes. So the Hamptons also, Donna Hampton and her sister Karen, I don't know if you know them, but yes, we went to Laurel Ridge one weekend. That was a highlight. I never went to camp at Laurel Ridge in the summer, but we went for like a winter retreat in January and
Why do you think you didn't go to Laurel Ridge Camp?
I'm just not really a camper.
So your mom and dad
Yeah.
probably nudged you and you said no thanks?
I don't know. My mom probably didn't want me to go, honestly. She was honestly, yeah.
There you go. We already know Christy. There's no point in nudging her. And so when did you stop going there? Did you keep going there through into the early 90s?
Yes, through college, and then whenever I graduated from college, it was different because there wasn't really a Sunday school class for me then.
It
It
was
kind
what?
of there wasn't really a Sunday school class. It seems like it was just kind of a period where it was hard to find people in my age group. And I was working with a girl who was going to Calvary Baptist Church, and she was involved in their singles ministry there. And so I visited once or twice, and then ended up, my parents started going to Calvary, and they joined before I did. And then later, um,
Why did they start going?
I don't really know. They had visited there like when I was a kid. Someone that my mom worked with, I think, had invited them to church, and Dr. Gary Chapman, who, author of the Five Love Languages, he was a pastor there and associate pastor. And I think they had gone and taken some classes. And I
He
remember,
he
yeah,
wrote the five love languages?
yes,
Isn't that a
yes.
semi-famous book?
Oh yeah, very famous. He's written lots and lots of books, and he actually came to our house when I was a kid. Yeah.
And he was the associate pastor there?
Yes, yes.
For how long?
Well, he still has an office there, so I'm not sure his position now, but yeah.
That's remarkable. And you said earlier, or told me earlier, that you wrote a book.
Yes.
Not everyone and his brother has written a book. What was the and so you stopped going to Friedberg Moravian Church. And aside from Friedberg Moravian Church and going there every Sunday, you didn't have where did you live growing up?
I lived very close to Freeburg Moravian Church off of Hickory Tree Road when I was younger. Then we moved a couple of miles away, so off of Fishel Road. Um, yeah, some family land, Hopewell Church Road.
Oh, that's
There was
cool.
another Moravian church, Hopewell Moravian Church, but we never went there.
Uh, I interviewed a fellow a month ago, Riddick Weber, and he said, and I trust him. I know that he's got more sense than I do. He says he grew up in Friedberg Estates. Did you know Friedberg Estates at
Yes,
all?
yes,
Did you know anyone in Friedberg Estates?
probably. I just can't remember off the
Yeah.
top of my head, but yeah,
But Friedberg Estates is similar to Friedberg. It is half of half of Friedberg Estates is Davidson County, and half
yes,
of Friedberg Estates is Forsyth County. You have to go into Davidson County to get into the Forsyth part of Friedberg Estates. And he grew
right.
up on the David in 10 feet from the county line. And he said, I never knew Friedberg growing up. I knew Arcadia. And so he
Hmm.
felt and knows that he grew up in Arcadia. There's no
Yes.
Arcadia any more than there is a Friedberg, but at least they have a Waikiki.
A what?
And did you feel like you grew up in Arcadia? It sounds like you grew up in Arcadia.
Yes, Arcadia. Yes. I went to Northwest Elementary School and I was the first kindergarten class in that school, in the new school.
So you
And
had very little affiliation, not much with Forsyth County. You had
right,
some because it was Trinity Moravian and Calvary Moravian, but
right.
and you probably worked there eventually. But you grew up in Davidson County very much.
Yes, and it was Calvary Baptist actually, not Calvary
Excuse
Moravian. Yeah, yeah,
me,
yeah.
Calvary
But
Baptist. That's right.
my grandmother went to Trinity Moravian, my great grandmother, so roots ran deep in the Moravian church. So
Wow.
yeah, so
Uh,
my
Nic-
great grandparents and grandparents are buried at God's Acre and everything. So
why did you write your book? What is the name of your book?
it's called God Keeps His Promises, Trusting in the One Who is Faithful When Vows Are Broken. I was married before. I don't know if you know that. So my first two children are from my first marriage,
Mhm.
and my husband and I actually separated when I was pregnant with my second child, my oldest son, and it was a rough time, but the Lord got us through that, and so I really learned to rely on Jesus during that time, and it really grew my faith, and my parents and my grandparents were a huge support. So I mean, it was just, I mean, it was a God story, my testimony, and so many other people have gone through similar circumstances or just really any kind of, bad situation. It's just hopefully an inspiration for people to trust the Lord when they're going through
Who
it.
encouraged? It's remarkable that you wrote the book, that you had it in you. Who encouraged you, kind of, sort of, to write the book?
Well, I mean, I had support from my family, but I really felt like that God laid it on my heart to do that. I felt like I was sharing my story, verbally with people, and there was just never enough time to tell someone everything. So it was good to write it down, and just show how faithful God was, just up until I guess it was published in '08, so I was writing it in '07, '08, and my kids were still very young then, and it's neat to see how much God has done since then. So I keep saying, maybe I need to write another one that God still keeps his promises. I don't know.
Yours was very popular, medium popular, or so-so. I mean, how would you judge it?
So.
Where,
Well, I mean, I was blessed. Actually, we're talking about Dr. Chapman. He actually wrote the foreword for me, and he was supportive. He read the manuscript before I ever had it self-published. I self-published it. So, it's just I buy a few copies. I probably have given way more away than anybody's actually bought because it's more about getting the message out there. I didn't do it to make money. So, anyway. but that's
That's remarkable. What was the reason or the impetus for you giving a presentation of your book at Friedberg Moravian Church?
my good friend Julia Foltz was involved with the women's minister. I don't know what they call it, maybe the circles, circle meetings the women had. But they would have a yearly women's gala in the spring, and they would have a speaker come in, and they would have a dinner and everything. And so they asked me to do that one year, and it was a lot of fun. So it was good to go back home to Friedberg and share my story and sell a few books to people. So it was a lot of fun.
I bet $1 that they recorded that speech.
I have no idea. I really don't know.
You've never seen it.
No, no,
But you could ask Julia Foltz. I would be interested in seeing that presentation. And I
oh,
bet $1 again that they did. She would know, right?
maybe I don't know.
And yeah, how did you feel about the presentation? How many women were there?
Oh wow, I don't know.
But,
I'm not good with numbers.
but
I mean,
25,
it
50,
was a
or
room
100?
full. It was a room full. It was probably 100. I don't know how many, but it was a room full. So
And did everyone and his sister buy a book that day, or was it?
no,
I know you don't have the numbers.
a few, a few did.
Did you sign your autograph in the
Oh
book?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've never experienced writing a book. I have interviews in me, but I don't have a book in me, and that's just a remarkable feat. And so do you have a second book in you?
I don't know, maybe. I've thought before about doing another book. I'm not really sure. This one, the first one was very testimonial, so that's the thing. I'm really a nobody. So I mean, those are only popular if you are kind of somewhat famous that people care about your story. But I don't know. I mean, I may put something together. I know I had mentioned earlier when we talked about how God had worked in my son's life this past year with the baseball thing, and that's just in and of itself kind of just a miraculous thing that he's gotten an opportunity for baseball. And his
Why was
verse,
that mildly
well,
miraculous?
because he never really got a lot of playing time, but the previous years in in
What is his
school.
position?
Well, it's whatever they needed him to be, honestly. But for some reason they kept needing him to be catcher. So when he played JV, they needed a catcher, and so he worked really hard to work at that position. He's played everything but first base. He's very versatile, so he's got that in his favor. But then I think it's his sophomore year, one of the other catchers got injured, so he primarily caught that year. And then his junior year, he was catching. Then a kid transferred in that started pretty much the whole season. And then he had a medical condition he couldn't finish. And then a third catcher was in the mix. It was a rough season. So then he told the coach, I'm not going to focus on catching anymore. I would like to focus on outfield. So he said, okay. So the first scrimmage game, the starting catcher broke his hand. So sad. I mean, it's terrible. Certainly wouldn't wish that on anyone. Great kid, great ball player. So, but as it turned out, my son ended up catching for most of the season, and that got him some opportunities to be seen. And it's really a cool story. His Bible verse for the year is Matthew 19:26. With God, all things are possible. And we really just saw that happen this year, because I just never would have thought in a million years that he would have an opportunity to play in college based on the history that he had, in high school. So,
Do you imagine that
who
he'll be
knows?
catching at what college?
Pfeiffer University.
Pfeiffer. Oh, do you imagine him catching at Pfeiffer?
I mean, maybe, who knows? That's what the coach when he talked to him, he was looking to bring on another catcher. So that's why he's going there. But who knows what'll happen once he's there. I'm keeping expectations low, and that way we're not disappointed, right? Is He's a good teammate. He'll have fun no matter what, because he loves the game. So he works hard. So
Christy
yeah.
Pegram-Long, you are 2 for 2 today. You're a remarkable guest on Friedberg Comes Alive. Thank you for giving me some more insight regarding Friedberg, Hickory Tree, and some of the comings and goings in early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, even 2010. Thank you.
Yes, enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye.